Wow, we have 15 participants already.
Pardon?
We have 15 participants already joined in. It's amazing.
That's so unexpected.
They all can, they're all logged in live, and we have still 2 minutes to go. This is great. To everybody who's logged in and can see my ugly face, I will be doing the webinar welcome in the next 3 to 4 minutes. Please be patient. We really, really appreciate your kindness. This is amazing participation. Okay. Hi guys, the webinar timing is on. I will still wait for 2 more minutes because guess what? We had 120 registrants, which for myself is a record, and I don't want people to miss out. So I'll just give them a 2 minute buffer time. If that works for everyone, how about everyone give me a thumbs up? And you do that, you can do that through your reactions. Okay, I'm getting a few thumbs ups. So glad to hear that people's mouses are working. Cool. Now, before we get started, just a few bit of housekeeping. If you have questions, feel free to write them in the chat. My colleague who's joined in from the support team will be happy to answer them. All right. So this is going to be a very nice, simple to do execution of strategies webinar. We have a few bit of things that I think you would love. And yep, just a bit of housekeeping. So anything, questions, feel free to send them in Q&A or the chat. And 1 minute to go. I see a few friendly known names in the list. It's great. Okay, we are. All right, let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. I am Dipanshu from PriceLabs, and I have with me Ellie from Resly. Please be the kindest because not only is this her first webinar, she's been very, very excited for this one. Okay, so we're going to present you with information, things that can help you with your pricing strategy. For the ones who are experts here, please feel free to put in your comments in the chat or in the Q&A. Okay. We will obviously be talking about what PriceLabs can do here and what Resly can do here as well. Okay. Our my dear co-host Ellie would also be talking about a few things within their product on what are best helpful for optimizing your strategies as well. Okay, now without further ado, we already have 40 participants. I'm so glad. That's actually my webinar attendance record. So I guess today's a lucky day for me. Okay, so let's jump right in. Now, on the right is the ugly face that you're looking at. That's myself. I'm the senior solutions consultant for PriceLabs for the APAC region, which means I am the person who gives you the demo of PriceLabs. I help you with the onboarding, and I'm also the account manager. So, and on the left is Ellie. Ellie, would you be so kind enough to please give us an introduction of yourself?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm the account optimization manager at Resly. I'm based on the Gold Coast. Been at Resly for about just over a year and a half. And generally, I work with our top tier clients just to make sure that they are optimizing their usage of the platform, just employing some new strategies and making sure they're getting the most out of Resly.
Wow. Okay. So Gold Coast. Gold Coast people, give me a thumbs up if you're here. Just one, two. Okay, three. That's a slow response. All right. Now, a few bit of agenda items. Okay, we will be doing a quick introduction of Resly and PriceLabs, and then I'll also be talking about how the algorithm of PriceLabs works. Over to then Ellie for talking about Resly's all-in-one platform of the PMS and also the integration that we have with them. Okay. Um, then I'll be presenting a bit of Australia, New Zealand market data, and then a few tips on what to really do within PriceLabs and adjust your pricing strategy to get the best. Okay. I understand I have a message here from Wiki. That's okay. If you don't have a thumbs up icon, you can just give us a thumbs up here in the chat. Don't worry about that. Okay. So let's jump right in. Now, what is PriceLabs? We are a revenue management platform and a dynamic pricing platform for short-term, mid-term rentals and service department villas and cottages and hotels. Okay, we've been in existence for more than 10 years and currently we price more than 500,000 properties across the world. As a company, we have clients present in more than 125 countries and the product is available in 6 languages. Okay, there are a few bit of prizes that we've been nominated for. I'm just gonna skip the showboating. And now I need people to give me a thumbs up of people who don't use any dynamic pricing tool yet. Give me a thumbs up if do not use anything and just are doing a manual strategy. Okay, of the 47 people, I'm getting only 4 thumbs up. Either I'm being the most boring webinar possible. Okay, a few coming up. Cool. So if you are not using dynamic pricing tool, oh wow, we already have PriceLab users as well. Fantastic. So for the ones who are not using any tools, a quick intro on what actually can dynamic pricing help you with versus from your fixed pricing strategy. So first off, yes, if you're using a fixed pricing strategy, there is a likely possibility you're not essentially optimizing your high demand times, right? Which means this is where dynamic pricing can help you of making sure that you get the best during high demand events or calendar holidays. Occupancy, very likely possible your fixed rate is costing your occupancy on the low demand days, right? Dynamic pricing helps you on optimizing occupancy during low demand days as well. Competition. Give me a thumbs up if you are usually setting the pricing by looking at what your competitors are setting. Okay, so a few of them. Well, here's the thing. That is essentially not only just a manual, but a repetitive activity, which possibly can lead to errors, right? You would like to automate the not just the monitoring of the competitive prices, but also how really the properties near and around you can influence your pricing in terms of their occupancy patterns. And then obviously, I don't need to mention about the time of how much time are you usually spending per day or a week on just manually updating your prices, whereas dynamic pricing tools can completely take that cake. Okay. Now, so quickly introduction on how we do what we do. Okay. Price Labs users, give me a thumbs up. Okay, I'm getting some good number of thumbs up. Wow, this is amazing. Fantastic. Okay. So, for people who are also users and for people who are not, here's a quick bit of introduction on the background scenes. What do we do and how this all happens? All right. So, uh, number one is we collect or scrape worldwide data of from Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, and key data. What that means is essentially we're scraping information that is online for the any properties that are live for in 48 hours. So what that allows us to do is once that data is collected, we process it. So that processing is phase two, where we remove blocks, the duplication, and ghost accommodation identification. If you're wondering what these terms are, simple. How do we even know that if we have collected information from a listing, is it actually a block or is it an list or is it a booking? So our data science team has actually developed an internal algorithm that allows us to identify that. And then also to be able to identify duplicate properties. Okay. We are all aware that some hosts not just have the same property listed twice, but also on different platforms, right? So being able to identify those duplicates along with identifying ghost listings, listings that haven't had any bookings for like say 6 months to a year. Okay. Once the data is clean, we feed it into the algorithm, or we like to call that as hyper local pulse algorithm. Okay, where basically creating data patterns of historic patterns of pricing changes, which we call as seasonality, to understand how your seasons behave, and then the futuristic patterns of how demand behaves. Say, is there a weekend that is picking up a lot more demand or occupancy versus the dates before and after? Is there any event or a holiday that's causing a spike in occupancy versus the dates or weekends before and after, right? So being able to identify that. This combined with your own user strategy, because my experience with hosts in Australia and New Zealand has been the fact that most of you guys have a bit of minimum stay strategies, right? Along with a few discounting that you usually do either manually or using a tool. If I'm correct, give me a thumbs up. Okay. Seems like I'm following on the right path. And then once the user strategy comes into place, we synchronize the prices. Okay, so these go to the PMS, in this case, Resly, and then we obviously get to see the performance. Performance, something that we'll be covering a bit towards the end of the webinar. And I'm so happy to see that our participants number has gone above 50. Really, really excited for that. And Ellie, over to you about Resly.
Thank you, Deep. I'd love to give a short introduction into Resly. So, for anyone here today who's not familiar with us, Resly is a completely cloud-based system that we've designed specifically for short-term rentals and management rights businesses. What makes us unique is that we bring together into the one platform everything a property manager will need to run their business. So you've got your PMS, your channel manager, your commission-free booking engine, trust accounting module that's compliant with every state's regulations, and the payment gateway as well. So what this means is no more juggling multiple logins, no switching between third parties. Our clients can manage everything in the one platform. So they manage their bookings, their finances, distribution, and automation all in the one place. And then when it comes to the integrations, we connect with over 200 third parties. You've got your OTAs, accounting software, smart locks, housekeeping, guest messaging platforms, and many, many more. And of course, PriceLabs is integrated into the daily workflow as well. So we make that dynamic pricing work very seamlessly. Finally, what ties it all together is we have a fantastic team. So we're headquartered on the Gold Coast where I am. And with our local onboarding and our support, our clients get up and running extremely quickly and very confidently as well. So that's the beauty of Resly. Everything you need working together in one simple system.
That was amazing. And we do have a question here, which I'm assuming a lot of my people have. Uh, Ellie, could you tell us what exactly is an OTA?
It's an online travel agent. So all of the channels that you're distributing your rates and your inventory to. So think like booking.com, Airbnb, VRBO, and so forth.
Okay, so all the listed platforms that we are getting the listings live on are called OTAs. Is that correct?
Right.
Fantastic. Sonia, I'm hoping we answered your question. Yeah. And cool. That was amazing. Okay, let's jump further to the integration that we have with you guys. Could you talk a bit more about this?
Yeah, definitely. So, in essence, the rates and restrictions are sent from PriceLabs to Resly, and then they're synchronized with all of those connected channels. So, the setup and the onboarding is incredibly easy, and it's done within the integrations part of Resly. And that just involves a very quick export of one's listings from Resly to PriceLabs. Of course, the Resly team or the dedicated onboarding specialist will provide all of the help that's needed to complete the setup. From our side, what goes across to PriceLabs is the room type or the listing details, the reservation and room block information, the inventory, pricing, and minimum stay rules. Deep, you can speak more around this, but PriceLabs will then update Resly with the pricing and the restrictions. That's based on whatever configurations have been set up within the PriceLabs platform. And this is going to also include opportunities to sell orphan nights. And I raise this because it's something that we're frequently asked about. Finally, when those rates are pushed back into Resly from PriceLabs, our clients can then apply a rate modifier. And that just essentially means an adjustment in the form of a percentage multiplier or a fixed amount or both. So if I was to give an example of that, if PriceLabs were to send back into Resly a rate of $100 and the modifier that our client has set up is 20% plus $20, then that final rate saved into Resly will be $140. And that is the amount that is sent out to all the platforms that you're syncing with.
Wow, that's great. So essentially, if people are using, say, hosting on booking.com or Airbnb and whatnot, obviously they have these different commission models. And you're saying that this modifier can basically take care of that because the price comes from Price Labs and then the different commission models or commission percentages get just added onto that and final price gets sent out, right?
Yeah, you've nailed it. That's exactly right.
That's so amazing. Okay. Uh, I'm gonna quick there's a very quick question here, and you can answer this, Ellie. So, are you aware of what simplified pricing on Airbnb is, which is the host-only fee and the simplified split fee?
This is the fee versus what would be incurred if there was a PMS used. Is
Yes,
that
that
what
one.
we're
Yes,
talking
yes,
about?
that one. So,
Yeah.
Brent asks, like, if they connect their Airbnb account to Resly, is that possible to be on the simplified model, which is Airbnb charges host the 3% and the guest 13%, or are they required to be on the host only fee model?
Yeah, there's definitely a different fee. So there are benefits that come to being connected with a PMS. So I'm not exactly sure of what those that commission model is, but there is definitely a difference between the host only fee and the PMS.
Right. And if somebody switches to Resly, say if they were on the 3% simplified fee, can they continue being on the simplified fee or would they be required to move to host only fee?
They'd be required to move.
Okay. Brent, I'm hoping that answers your question. Okay, cool. Let's move forward. And talking about the integration, as Ellie mentioned, there is the pricing that goes from PriceLabs to Resly and then distributed to channels. As she mentioned towards her last point, that Resly is sort of like your distribution partner as well, because they're receiving the price from us and then distributing with the modifiers across different platforms. Um, One thing I'm really excited or happy to share is the fact that we can sync up prices of up to the next 2 years, 720 days. And not just that, along with that, we can sync up your minimum stay settings as well. Give me a thumbs up, people, if you have a minimum stay of more than one night, say 2 or 3 nights across the year. Wow, so many. Give me a thumbs up if you currently manage this manually. My God. How about we share some automations that could actually help you with this? All right. So, but just hold on a tiny bit before I share a bit of information. Okay, so for people who are joining in from Australia and New Zealand, here are a few things. From my conversations with the clients, the one thing that I'm consistently noticing is the fact that Christmas and New Year bookings are currently at double the pace of what they were same time last year. What that means is, I'm giving an example, like if a certain market currently had 15% of occupancy for Christmas, New Year's last year, okay, so today is 25th of August, say 25th of August last year, Christmas, New Year's was 15% booked. Right now, it's actually double, 30%. And this is happening across most of East Coast markets and a few of vacation markets in New Zealand as well. All right. What does that mean? If last year you were worried that bookings were coming in so last minute, probably towards the mid-November to end of November for Christmas, New Year's, that thing is most likely to shift up to early November or mid-October. Okay. That also means the fact that if you haven't hiked your prices yet, and if you're still available, there is time for you to optimize your revenue. Okay. Because market is picking up bookings faster than it was last year. Okay. Not only that, ADR is also going up. So if because bookings were happening last minute, all of you or most of you would have had to give discounts or lower your pricing in order to get those bookings. The good thing about the fact that bookings that are happening earlier is the fact that you can expect to earn more per night. ADR, for the people asking me the question, is average daily rate. All right. That essentially means what is your nightly rate that you're charging or displaying. Okay. So what prices you were able to achieve nightly last year, they are also expected to be higher same time for this upcoming Christmas and New Year's as well. Now, this is interesting because a lot of the times I get the panic messages of, guys, what's happening to the booking window? People are booking last minute. Oh my God. Well, good things and bad things. So the winter that just went by, well, there's not much difference of booking windows. Okay, the blue is current year, 2024 to 2025. The gray is 2 years ago, so 2023, 2024. You can see that most of the last, I mean, the blue is currently behind the grays. This means your booking windows did go down. However, as I'm noticing the fact that Christmas bookings are going up right now, there is a likely possibility that when December and January data get collated, this year's booking window will be longer than what it was last year. Okay. If everybody has questions around what a booking window is, a booking window is basically the difference between the date of check-in versus the date of booking. So if I book today, so for a check-in, say on tomorrow, then the booking window or lead time for my booking or reservation is 1 day. All right. If I book a check-in 6 months out, then the lead time is 180 days. All right. Cool. Let's continue. And length of stay patterns. For most of you, as mentioned, that you're using your length of stay restrictions, this is interesting because there's not much change in the length of stay of bookings that are happening. All right. So if you're looking to either increase or if you're wondering that should I be decreasing considering how last year went, probably not required because there wasn't much of a difference noticed, even though people were booking last minute. Okay. If you guys would like to access this data, we're more than happy to share this. The recording would also be delivered to your emails later on, so don't worry. And we also have our support team here. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. But more importantly, you can reach out to us on support with your questions about data, and we're more than happy to help. Okay, the email address for the same is support@pricelabs.co. I am writing that in the chat right here. Ellie, would you be so kind to share what is the support address that people can reach out for Resly?
Will do.
Fantastic. Now, on to the tips. If I have held your attention till now, give me 5 more minutes and I think you will be finding this extremely valuable. All right. Now, quick questions. Um, how many of you know what a base price in PriceLabs is? Give me a thumbs up if you do. Okay, quite a few who are aware. I'm going to reiterate on exactly what a base price is. For people who are thinking this is your minimum, it's actually not. A base price in Price Labs is the average price of the property for the entire year. On the screen, what you see is there is a market-based base price of $236 for the upscale listings of 3 bedrooms in the neighborhood. Okay, the selection that you're seeing on the screen is essentially because there is a possibility you only wish to learn from your neighborhood or the immediate neighborhood of what exactly is happening. For example, Ellie's based in Gold Coast. We know Surfers Paradise is a very, very busy neighborhood, right? So if your property is beach facing, you may not want to compare it to the ones that is one street or two street behind, because those might have completely different prices or base prices. This selection of the tool helps you lock in that having a appropriate base price. And why exactly is it so important having a good base price? If you remember at the beginning, I mentioned that we have these data factors that we apply, the seasonality and the demand factor. Well, guess what? Those two factors, along with your customizations, apply over and above the base prices that you set, which means if you select a base price that's way too high, our recommendations for the entire year will be way too high. And vice versa, if you select a base price that's way too low. Sometimes I do get the question, then how do I even know what's a good base price? Well, guess what? It is a bit of a thing to learn. However, the blue graph that you see here is a good example to understand where your averages lie. If you believe that yours is a mid-scale property and the blue graph shows you appropriate high season averages and low season averages that you're currently charging, you, my friend, have stumbled on the correct base price. Okay, if you have questions more on the base price, please feel free to write to us in the Q&A, and we're more than happy to take them towards the end of the webinar. Okay, so number one, make sure you have the correct base price. Number two, make sure you are managing your gaps during peak season, something that Ellie did mention when she mentioned about Resly. Okay, and of the people here who know what an orphan gap is, give me a thumbs up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 11. 57 attendees and I get 11 thumbs up. Okay. I'm going by the assumption people don't. All right. So I got a lot many thumbs up when I asked how many people are using minimum stays, right? Well, if you have a 2-night minimum stay, then there is obviously the possibility that there is going to be a gap of 1 night between two reservations, right? A lot many people don't exactly optimize that because either it's a lot of work because you have to identify and then change the pricing, right? Or the fact that you're not optimizing this for high season. Example, if you have a 2-night stay during normal time, there is a likely possibility you have a 5 or a 7 night during peak time. So now your gaps are not just 1 night, your gaps are 1, 2, 3, 4 if you have a 5-night stay, right? So orphan gap essentially is the gap between two reservations that exist. Okay, Ellie, I remember you mentioned that orphan gap is something that people should optimize on, right? Would you tell me a bit more about what are the usual challenges that your clients mention around this?
Yeah, it's exactly as you said it. It's a pretty common reality, and not all managers know what to do with them, and not all managers actually chase them. But when they do, they definitely need to be pricing them at a premium that they wouldn't
Mhm.
otherwise be receiving, especially when they're trying to factor in things like cleaning fees to make it worth their while. So,
Oh, wow.
this is actually a perfect example of letting the automation create those opportunities that the property managers wouldn't ordinarily think of, to manage, or to have the time to manage either. It's just something that's quite commonly overlooked.
Oh, wow. So are you saying that either it's the fact that people are not aware or you also mentioned the fact that you can charge premiums because the factors like cleaning fee and all. I'm curious, is it because it's tough to get cleaners during that time?
It's tough, or the cleaning fee may often be higher than what the average daily rate is. So, rather than
Um,
selling it for a certain amount, you want to apply that premium to make it worth your while to be able to pay your cleaners and any other workers that you may have that come in
That is, yeah,
during that.
that's extremely insightful. So for people, well, not only can you automate the orphan gap minimum stay from Price Labs, you can also automate the premium that you want to apply for any certain gaps within Price Labs as well. Okay, so in order to be able to take care of your cleaners, as Ellie mentioned, all of that automation can not only help you capture the opportunities that you might have been missing, but also actually aid your monetization and revenue when you actually want to be able to host them. All right. I have been told by a few clients that the reason they don't ever want to host those 1 night or 2 night gaps is because of the likelihood of parties. Well, guess what? If you were to apply 100% premium, you're essentially charging a 2 night price for that. And that's on you then, if at all you want to go down that road. Okay. Now, give me a thumbs up if your minimum stay during peak season is different from your normal time. Okay, that's 4, 5, 6, 7. I have a feeling I'm only getting the thumbs up from the only set of people who are actually clicking on it. Not enough. Wow, I wish there was a way to get some excitement rolling on. Anyway, so not only can you automate your minimum stay for the year, you can also automate the minimum stay and seasonal prices using Price Labs for the peak season as well. What you're seeing on screen is a seasonal profile that a lot of my clients in Australia and New Zealand actually love using because guess what? The amount of time they have spent in fixing the manual work of minimum stay for that peak season and then monitoring it every month or every week to change it as per how many days far away it is. All of that can be automated using this thing called custom season profile, where you set the dates you want to set for, you set your minimum stays that you want to set, and rest, let the automation take over. And as Ellie mentioned, during those peak times, you can also create opportunities to be monetizing the gaps that can form in so that you're charging the appropriate price. I have a question here saying we said that in Price Labs does that not pull through to price? Kim says we said that currently in Resly, does that not pull through to Price Labs? That is correct, Kim. Minimum stay flows from us to Resly, not the other way around. Okay, I'm hoping that answered your question. So, and if you have more questions around seasonal profiles, please feel free to write those in the Q&A. And we have help articles and YouTube videos you can watch at your own pace. We have another question asking, does the minimum stay flow through to Airbnb? Yes, it does. As you remember, Ellie mentioned, the information of pricing and restrictions goes from Price Labs to Resly. And then from Resly, it is distributed to the platforms. In other words, the OTAs, Sonia, that you had mentioned about. Okay. And for the data geeks out there like myself, these are information that I think you would love. For people who are currently pricing or looking at what your competitor is pricing and then deciding, using Price Labs as neighborhood tools are extremely helpful because the graph on the left helps you understand what your pricing is on any given day versus the competition, so you exactly know where you're falling. Are you in the economy or the budget section, or are you comparing against the average section or even the upscale section? Because on high demand dates, it is important that you optimize. So it's okay to cross that line. But on low demand days, you got to be the competitive priced partner so that your likelihood to book is the highest. Okay, not just that, we have market history information as well. So you get to understand in your own neighborhood, because we are looking at when we recommend prices for your property, the closest 350 listings located. So it's not that Price Labs is looking at the total region and then recommending. No, we are an extremely neighborhood driven pricing tool because we're looking at the occupancy patterns of the closest 350 listings. And that allows us to understand what your occupancy patterns are, how the booking windows are shaping up, the length of stay, and even the ADR. For people, that is average daily rate. Okay. Is there anything that I haven't covered? Nope. And then the reports. Give me a thumbs up for people who like using Excel. One. 2, 3. Oh, okay. I was slightly worried for half a second. Cool. I'm getting, wow, this question was the most activated one. Okay. Um, well, for people who love using Excel, we in Price Labs have launched this tool called Report Builder, where not only can you actually look at how your units or even a listing is performing time over time, but also versus market. So you know whether are you pacing ahead. Pacing means how your booking uh, pattern is in a certain timeline versus the competition. So are you pacing ahead, which means you're booking more than the competition, or are you pacing behind? Dean Brown, yes, this webinar is being recorded for offline viewing, and you'll be receiving the link automated on the automated email that goes out after. Okay. And we have a bit of surprise. So people who are not yet a Price Labs user, give me a thumbs up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my God, that's a big one. Okay. Well, the surprise is for you guys. But before that, I have a few questions for Ellie. Ellie, would you be kind enough to, uh, if I can bother you with these questions?
Yeah, throw them at me.
Okay. So you're the optimization manager and the implementation manager at Resly, which means every day you're talking to, um, like every week you're at least talking to hundreds of clients, right? I'm really curious to understand, what sort of challenges have you, like the property managers that you talk to have mentioned in respect to like how to align the stakeholders, of the business when they want to either implement a PMS tool like Resly or a dynamic pricing tool like PriceLabs. What sort of questions or challenges do property managers often share with you about?
Yeah, good question. When we're talking about stakeholders, we've got two types of stakeholders. You've got your owners and then you've got your internal teams as well. So if we're looking at our owners, then handling those conversations and getting your owners on board, it can be tricky. And we know that owners can be tricky about their rates. Some of them want maximum occupancy, others want to drive higher ADR, some want less wear and tear to their properties. So I think the biggest hurdle can be the mindset change. So the owner education is critical because it can help provide that knowledge of the market trends a bit better. And it can also alleviate the concerns that they may have around their potential revenue loss. So, if you want to get your owners to embrace any new technology, whether it's dynamic pricing or another platform, my advice would be to get them on board before you roll it out. One manager actually told me recently that dynamic pricing gives them evidence. So instead of arguing with an owner about why their nightly rate isn't booking, you can show them the data and then it just becomes a much easier conversation.
Oh,
Then
wow.
on the flip side, you've got the internal stakeholders as well. So user trust and adoption within the internal business can be a very common barrier for first-time users of any new tech. So if you've got, a property manager who's, or any sort of internal stakeholder who's been running with a particular strategy for so long, it's hard for them to trust a new system in the early days. So that effective change management, again, it involves a lot of education and comms around the benefits of things like data-driven decision making. Most managers that I've spoken to have said that once you get their buy-in, you just need to do the groundwork. So do a proper cost analysis, and then just have them trust the process. And definitely don't expect perfection from day one. If you do all of this effectively, you will never go back to manual pricing.
Wow, that's really really insightful. I, I I'm actually curious because you mentioned something here about making sure you do it before, right? And having evidence backed through a dynamic pricing tool. So would you say like you trial a pricing tool, collect data without syncing, and then have a conversation with the owner that, hey, I want to try this or something else?
I mean, you can always test the waters with a trial. You can bring on a couple of your properties. You don't have to bring on the full portfolio.
Mhm.
But my stance is always to look at market analytics anyway, and that's whether you're using a dynamic pricing tool or not. So there are analytics out there. There's so much data out there that the OTAs will give you as well. and they'll give you a range of insights. They'll help you understand performance, demand, guest behavior. So it is out there. And typically you'll see things like occupancy, demand trends, booking windows, length of stays, and other insights as well. Resly will also show you, what your occupancy is sitting at across your portfolio over the next 6 months. But yeah, taking that step a little further, if you did do a trial, for instance, with a couple of your properties with PriceLabs, then you've got that occupancy snapshot in PriceLabs across your portfolio or your chosen properties, and you've got that versus the market as well. So you can see where you're sitting in terms of the rest of the market. And we've got managers out there who just absolutely can't live without that feature because it just lets them do those quick decisions. So having that access to data like this, it just gives you a snapshot, like a health snapshot, I'd say, of your portfolio. And it's very useful when you're making these strategic decisions.
Wow, that's so insightful. Amazing. And I have just one more question for you, Ali. Um, I know a few of Resdy clients have mentioned something about a derived rate plan, right? And it being extremely helpful in their pricing strategy. Can you like share more information exactly what a derived rate plan is and how does that actually help a property manager in their strategy?
Yeah, definitely. So rate plans is something that you need to set up within your PMS, but derived rate plans are not something that everybody uses. Essentially, they are new pricing options that are calculated from an existing base rate, or what we would call a parent rate plan. So what happens is when you tweak that parent rate plan, either by a percentage or a dollar amount, all of your derived rate plans will also adjust accordingly by that same percentage or the same dollar amount. So it just makes a really efficient way to keep your pricing consistent. It saves you time, reduces all those errors that, might occur when you're doing these manual adjustments. Now, if you are using PriceLabs, so some of you are, you may actually want to set up a PriceLabs parent rate plan, and then you might want to derive some additional rate plans from that. So you can apply specific modifiers for each of your channels, as we discussed earlier, and then you're covered for your agent commissions. So it just gives you a really simple way to adjust all your rate plans in one hit rather than doing them one by one.
Fantastic. So, for example, like if we are from Price Labs, if we are sending we're syncing one base rate plan, uh, you're saying that people can create a derived one, like if your rate plan is of a standard of, say, a 2-night minimum stay plan, then they can have a derived of, say, a 3-night rate plan, which has a discount. Is that something that would be done?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So probably then, like for example, hotels or motels could use that as the same rate plan, but that includes breakfast or something that includes parking as just
Mhm.
like all different offerings being calculated from the same number. Am I correct?
Yep, you got it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm glad I figured this one out. Okay. This is amazing. All right. We are about 40 minutes into this webinar, and keeping the timeline in mind, I am now opening the floors to questions. And the surprise for the new attendees is we have a new promo for you guys. Okay, so if you are wanting to sign up with Price Labs, okay, you can use the code RESLYPL 2025 and it will be a 15% off for the first 3 months. Okay, but please remember this offer is only valid for a month, which means you need to create your new account. Okay, within the next month. For the existing users, this is not offered. So I'm sorry for that. However, for questions, the floor is open, guys. Please ask whatever you have. Okay, I have a very loaded question. Actually, two very loaded questions of what is the difference between Price Labs versus Room Price Genie, and another question of how to set up Orphan Gap once again. Okay, I'll cover the competition one first. So, well, the one of the key differences I note from the conversations with people who have either utilized Room Price Genie is the fact that they cannot update the minimum stay restrictions across to your platforms, which means if you are a hotel or any of a short-term rental setup, it's it's extremely important the fact that your minimum stays are sinking across the year. Okay. I'm aware that Room Price Genie cannot do that, along with the fact that Price Labs is only one of the products that actually allows you to influence your pricing, not just from the local short-term rental information, but also from the local hotel booking.com information. And you can decide which has more weightage. Example, if yours is a motel or a hotel or a boutique hotel that is surrounded by a lot more of commercial operators, there is a possibility that you would want 50% weightage from the short-term rental, but 50% from booking.com or hotel, right? But if yours is a strictly Airbnb business, then you'd probably only want to focus on STR. This sort of weightage is something that Airbnb allows you to, Price Labs allows you to configure for your own settings. Okay. I'm hoping that was something that was able to help you. And also by the fact I am aware that we're slightly cheaper than Room Price Genie, but we can skip that one. How to set up the orphan gap. Michelle, how about I share a article that we have in our help base, knowledge base that I think would be helpful for you. Okay, if you have still more questions, please do let us know. But I think the article is very well rounded in setting orphan gap settings and also how to really utilize those. But please remember that orphan gaps are essentially the gaps that exist between reservation. So you need to think around what sort of strategy you wish to execute. Because if you do not want to host a gap and you're thinking just for the sake of it, I don't recommend. If you're actually thinking of that, there is an operational possibility that you can execute them, please do go ahead. Okay. Um, Now, the question is, what if I've used a free trial before? I'm so sorry you would not be able to get that surprise. But I do have another question. How reliable will Price Labs be if we have a very strong presence in a particular neighborhood? 60 to 80% of listings may be ours. That's actually a great question, Jared. And I would say we're extremely reliable. Here is why. Even if you have the biggest count in a neighborhood, the fact is we are picking on occupancy patterns. All right. A lot of people do ask me, hey, if I sign up with Price Labs, does that mean that you're helping other people with my data? Answer number one, no. There is a strict data privacy wall where your data is only limited to your account. Okay. All the recommendations that we are generating for anybody who's using Price Labs are publicly available data, which we scrape through online Airbnb platforms, booking.com and VRBO. All right. And as I mentioned that we are mostly occupancy driven, we are calculating or designing the patterns of occupancy to understand how those are behaving and able to influence then your pricing behavior. I'm more than happy to schedule a demo and you know talk about this in detail. And if you would like to discuss that, you can reach out to us at support@pricelabs.co and keep me in CC at dipanshu@pricelabs.co. Okay. Moreover, Ellie is also the optimization manager for Resly. Ellie, I believe your email is ellie@resly.com.au. So I'm just shooting that here so that if you haven't fixed on a PMS yet, or if you have Resly related questions, please do send those across to Ellie. Okay. Um, and then I have a question. What is the average price as monthly cost for a motel which has a minimum one night stay? Kara, could you please share what is the number of units you are managing in that motel? Ellie, I do have a question around this. Um, can you share like what's the typical sort of onboarding timeline when somebody say comes on with Resly?
Uh, Actually, onboarding with Resly, we're looking at about 3 weeks. That's
Mhm.
the sweet spot. Onboarding Price Labs with an existing Resly customer, we're talking, minutes. So
Yep,
happy to
completely
take
agreed.
it offline if needed.
Yes. So 17 units. Well, for Kara, here is something that will help you. You can always and always go online on this link and check our pricing model because it's right there online. So you know exactly what you're going to be signing up for. Michelle has a question. I'm not sure if this is directed to us or Resli. can they attend some personal training sessions? Say this was directed to you, Ellie. Um, can people come in the office and attend some personal sessions?
Office, no, but we're quite happy to do virtual sessions anytime. Just again, feel free to reach out to me directly. We're always happy to do new training sessions, refresher training sessions. There's never a cost to those.
Understood. And if you are wanting some personal training sessions for Price Labs, these are all free of cost. Happy to schedule those virtually. Please just reach out on the support email given above. That's support@pricelabs.co. I want to do a pin on this. I'm not sure how to do that. But you can just reach out. We have daily webinars, and not just that, we have 15 to 20-minute slots of personal calls that you can schedule with our support team. They'd be more than happy to help. Okay. And our knowledge base is also extensive if you have questions. Okay. Any more questions, guys? We still have a few more minutes, and I don't wish to sign off with the devil on my head thinking I could have answered more. Okay. Well, how about okay then. If a high percentage of locations in the same area were all using dynamic pricing software, would this likely push prices down? Jason, that's a great question. Okay, for everybody present, this is a great question. Here's the question. If a high percentage of locations in the same area were all using dynamic pricing software, wouldn't this likely push prices down? That's actually not exactly correct. Here is why. Fun fact, across Australia, the adoption of dynamic pricing, and I'm not talking price apps, just like people changing their prices actively, is less than 30%. So only one out of three hosts or listings are using a dynamic pricing module. And it also differs in terms of areas, like ones that are a lot more urban, say Melbourne or Sydney, you would find there a relatively higher penetration versus the vacation spots. Now, to answer your question, if everybody is using a dynamic pricing software, wouldn't this just drop the pricing? This is where I mentioned that Price Labs is not a price matching algorithm. Okay. So if we were a price matching algorithm, if people around you start to drop your prices, we'll do that. We don't do that. We drive it based on how occupancy patterns are behaving, right? So this means the fact that if the occupancy is actually going up, even if the prices for a certain data going down, we will be then basing it on how the occupancy is behaving. Not just that, we keep a track of local events and calendar holidays to be aware of how those are affecting your occupancy patterns. So even before prices have started to pick up, we would have already increased the prices because of the fact that there is an expected price movement coming up on those dates. All right. So even if everybody is using a dynamic pricing software, say if everybody was using PriceLabs, right? It's not the fact that everybody's pricing would go down. It's because of the fact that the occupancy patterns are driving the pricing behavior. That is what will set individuals' pricing. I'm hoping I answered that question for you. Okay. I have a few more here, which is Mara asks, can we set minimum rates to make sure prices don't drop too low? Mara, yes, that is one of the most critical prices in Price Labs that you set, so that those are what we call thresholds or minimum prices. Never ever are we going to recommend a number that is lower than your minimum. Okay. And May is saying, I'm using Room Price Genie, thinking to change over. Okay. Um, well, if you have questions, if by the way, we have a 30-day free trial as well, right? So even if you're not sure, just sign up with Price Labs. Set up your properties in Price Labs. You are not required to pay any single dollar. And the 30-day free trial is essentially giving you access to the entire suite of Price Labs' products to help you understand how we can help you with the pricing. Okay. And if after 30 days you're still thinking it over, feel free to reach out. And if you're already liking it, you can subscribe. Okay. Um, Sonia is asking, how do we get the information about local events? Great question. Number one, we have an internal revenue management team, of which They are actually keeping a track of local calendar holidays and events. Not just that, every user who uses PriceLabs, we allow them to give us feedback of any event that we may not have picked up yet. So you can let us know if there's anything that is extremely local that we haven't identified. All right. And along with that, we are able to understand any peak events like your concerts and all, because we keep a track of that as the internal revenue management team does. All right. And one more question is there any minimum room required for signing up a Price Labs? You can sign up for Price Labs without syncing your prices ever. I mean, you can just trial it for 30 days and see if you want to sync or not. So our cost of subscription goes down per unit as the number of units go up. Okay. Alex is asking, do you have a dummy that you can practice on before going live? That's a good question. Actually, you don't need the dummy. You can just sign up with Price Labs, import your properties, and because the sync toggle is off by default, that essentially your own listing is the dummy because no prices are being sent from Price Labs to anywhere. So you can practice on your own listing without the worry that things are changing. Okay. And one more question I would like to ask Ellie. Ellie, uh, interestingly, obviously, Resly is the trust accounting compliant, right? I am assuming that takes away a lot of headache for, and the people you're talking to are really, really excited to be, having a question around that. Um, would you be comfortable sharing, like, what's the when the question of trust accounting comes, what is that, like the usual thing, like, hey, I'm so glad you saved me time, or like those customer success stories that you usually get, like, oh my God, I should have done this so long ago.
There's actually so many of those, Deep. One of the major benefits I would say is just having the live bank feeds. So having that feed straight into Resly just eliminates the need for you to spend your end of month having your internet banking spreadsheet up on one page and then having your PMS and then going through things with a ruler and marking off and clearing your transactions. That's a real time saver. Um, Generally speaking, end of month takes about 10 minutes for our clients to complete. It's a one-click process. It's actually really hard to be non-compliant as well. Our system makes it impossible for you to be non-compliant. And I believe when we started, when we actually designed our technology, we worked really closely with the OFT to make sure that everything was compliant in the first place. So a lot of
Wow.
benefits. Yeah.
Wow. Down to 10 minutes. So I'm assuming that people would share, like, this would take me 2 to 4 days every end of month, and now you're just bringing it down to 10 minutes. Is that correct?
Yeah, it depends on the PMS. It can take hours, it can take days. But yes, we've brought it down to minutes.
Wow. Oh, that is amazing. Okay. Uh, well, we are at the 55-minute mark. This was planned to be a 45-minute webinar, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your patience, for your engagement, for all the thumbs up that I asked for and I got, and for attending and giving us your presence. Okay. We're so, so excited, and I'm hoping that we were able to deliver value to you guys. Okay. And if you have any questions, once again, please feel free to reach out to support@pricelabs.co for PriceLabs questions, and also questions to Resly at support@resly.com.au. Okay, I've input my own email in the chat as well, and Ellie's as well. So please do feel free to reach out. And not just that, we're so excited that we were able to help you, and we're really, really looking forward to helping you further and working on this relationship with you all. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Ellie, thank you so much for being such a gracious co-host. You're amazing, and you honestly rocked it.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks on behalf of Redley as well for having me.
Oh, thank you. And you're welcome. And everyone, take care. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.